like to talk to you today about legislative assemblies. A legislative assembly in the United States is typically, with respect to political discussions, going to be one of three things. It's going to be a local city council, it's going to be a state legislature, or it's going to be Congress. Those are the three main legislative assemblies in the United States. There's no way on earth that city councilmen, state senators, and Congress people were fully aware of what was being unleashed on the American public when gang-stalking was implemented as a national security protocol. Congress, never in anybody's wildest dreams would they have ascertained that those national security measures would manifest as gang-stalking. They likely, in the aftermath of 9/11, got some 10,000-page national security bills passed across their desk, and to simply move things along, they said, we'll go ahead and just sign the whole thing. We're not going to vet it. We're not going to comb through it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that there are no deleterious stipulations in there. We're just going to take this 10,000, 15,000 page bill, which could have really anything in it. You don't know what's in there. There could be anything in that bill. Anything. They could be literally legalizing anything in that bill, and no one reads it before ratifying it. And neither does the president. So these are not so much complaints as they are observations. I knew these things about Congress, state legislatures, and city councilmen for 15 years now. But I was never of the mindset that they had no idea the types of stuff they were passing. Now, I can understand national security. I've said it in previous videos. This country would be a lot safer if there were camera towers on every street corner. I've said that. And the United States can afford it, too. And that would eliminate the need for something like gang-stalking, which is obviously an auxiliary to the Department of Justice, which, again, does a phenomenal job keeping this country safe. They just let something fall through the cracks into the American public, and some of the stuff is harmful. Now, it's all about checks and balances. Okay? The executive, judicial, and legislative branches of government in this country all check and balance each other. Neither is more powerful than the other in the grand scheme of things, and they share power. And there's reciprocity with respect to which one has authoritative dominion over the other. So who's here to check the gang-stalking mechanism? It's unchecked. There ain't no rules to it. There's no rhyme, there's no reason. It is chaos. It is the Wild West. But, I mean, it's obviously disruptible. It's disruptible. Yeah, I mean, it's disruptible. And I've laid the blueprint on how to disrupt it. Okay? You look at me on Facebook, you will see a definitive guide to gang-stalking. Okay, you read my Facebook page, you got the Bible of gang-stalking right there. And it's all there for you in 30 different languages for international audiences. More on gang-stalking to come. Listen up. I'm in Miami, Florida, and I'm going to do another gang-stalking video. The time is at hand. Covert war. Gang-stalking, which is a very thuggish program that the U.S. has passed through national security programs. Corrupt, violent, thuggish, and brutish signaling mechanism that gangstalkers use to detain, target, and disrupt. There are many clandestine ways of becoming a targeted individual. It goes by many names: gang-stalking, hate stalking, cause stalking, community harassment, and covert war. Listen to these words. They are the truth about this thuggery. The scapegoat for everything they do. Everything a gangstalker does is centered around a targeted person's location. And a targeted person is marked in some way 24 hours a day. When I say marked, it means that at some point, at least once an hour every day, sometimes more than once an hour, use some sort of a signal to let other stalkers know who the mark is, basically the target, who the target is, and where they are exactly. This is done through noise. This is done through physical gestures.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Politically minded one to put together a program like Gangstalking. Now these signaling mechanisms are learned. Haven't experienced it. It appears learned. It appears that these stalkers teach each other how to do this stuff simply through example. Like, I'm not sure there's a class. Targeted person, particularly one like myself, would never think to use anything like this against another person. No place in human civilization, period. Especially not in a country that stalkers a person encounters on a daily basis are surly and hostile. Its core protocol is disruption. Its core protocol is containment. If no one was awareness, now people know what to look for. For me personally, making the appropriate parties aware has experienced it. And from that perspective, not a lot of people can identify with what's being said by targeted persons. If you understand a targeted person's perspective, then you're going to be able to understand the program in more depth. Mentally legalized gangstalking if it accidentally implemented it as a part of a national security package. Well, now that we know of gangstalking's existence, now we know to examine national security packages. We examine these bills more closely. Then accidents like gangstalking will never happen. That could jeopardize the constitutional rights of the citizens here in this country. That's pretty much the gist at this point. To raise types of mistakes can and will be made at the discretional level if bill it doesn't understand and votes yes on it, and it goes to the president, he's likely to understand it either, because a lot of his political knowledge is derived from the president. So if the Congress or the president understands the bill, then when it's approved by the president, I'm highly critical of the people that participate in gang stalking, namely gang stalkers themselves. I'm highly critical. And that's because, personally, I'm highly critical of the thing. I don't see its value. All it does is around me and communicate it. I may not be able to understand what's happening to the degree that I have, and men, women, and children are targeted persons in this country. I'm and that's at the local, state, and federal levels. It's a situation where all we can do is hope, because a program like this could take decades to fully investigate. It could take decades to fully investigate gangstalking, what's been implemented. It could take 50 years. And then all the targeted persons will be either too old to understand the changes or deceased. It could take a long time to investigate this and fully repeal its formed and marked police, and then you're going to have your know at all that they're law enforcement. That is a good way to patrol. That is a good way to patrol. It's a solid way. All of the above are actual employees of the state, and all of the above have sworn an oath of service to their department, to their state. So they're obligated to a standard of professionalism. Now, if everyday Joe Schmo type of everyday citizens are participating in a semi-policing mechanism that is unmarked, they are not wards of the state. They are not sworn law enforcers. They're simply people taking signals and acting on cues and commands. You know, a person is fairly unpredictable. And yes, of course we need stable community relations and so forth, but centralization is going to continue to be highly critical in this program until it is finally done away with. It is your host, Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, about changing of the guards, or as they're referred sometimes as new orders. So at some point in the trajectory of a government, a nation, a people, the majority of the population will decide that they don't like the trajectory of the social construct in which they lived. And if they can convince enough politicians or policymakers as to why the trajectory of the social order should change, you could see radical change in a very short period of time, politically, socially, economically. These are called new orders. An example of a new order would be the end of the Romanov dynasty. The Romanovs were the royal family in the Roman Empire generations, And at some point, either the powers that be, the people, or a combination of the powers that be and the people in Russia to remove the Romanovs from power and install a government based on the communist philosophy. That's the government that has survived to the present day. Russia was radically changed socially, politically, and economically in a very short period of time. The transition from the monarchy to communist revolution, a new order, a radical change in a government or society over a short period of time. These new orders are they're history changing, because it isn't just the population of the that feels the effect of it. It's every country that has any relationship with that country, period. Be it culturally, be it socially, be it economically, be it politically. It changes not only that country, but the countries around it. Now, in the United States, the new order is gangstalking. This system of signals, cues, verbal commands, vehicular maneuvers, all of these things point to a radical change in a short period of time of the behavior of the citizens in this country. And some people are plugged into the mechanism and some people are not plugged into the mechanism. The entry of a person's vital statistics into any sort of government database or other digital mechanism designating them as a threat to society without any type of habeas corpus or evidentiary process is a part of how targeted persons are selected. It is an unfortunate program. It is a degenerate program. It is one that threatens to undermine the Constitution if it hasn't already. It also threatens to undermine the Bill of Rights and any other statute, law, or precept that guarantees civil liberties, civil rights, and inalienable rights to every citizen. The new order in this country is disappointing because of all of the resources that it has at its disposal with respect to human capital, technology, business resources, economic resources, credit, etc., etc. You'd think that the American socio-political machine would move forward much cleaner, much classier, much more sophisticated, much more elegant, much more cognizant of constitutional rights and liberties and what that represents. However, we don't have that. We essentially have a mob rule, and this mob wants similar conditions to Jim Crow. Now, the directors of the mob want similar conditions to Jim Crow. They want people to stay to themselves ethnically, religiously, and racially, and sociologically. They're communicating that in so many different ways, almost as if they are preparing society for the re-implementation of Jim Crow. And they're re-implementing it in an impersonal way. There are no signs up that says no people of this particular socioeconomic demographic can come into this store, this restaurant. But if a person that goes into that store or restaurant does not fit the socioeconomic or demographic mold of the type of customer that they want in that store, that person might experience gang-stalking or community harassment or some other mechanism that's tied to the these programs and protocols and so forth that I've been talking about for been about 8 years now. So regardless of whether or not the Congress of the United States acknowledges the gang-stalking mechanism, the mob rule mechanism, the synchronization mechanism, the signaling mechanism, it doesn't mean that it is not in actuality functioning and moving, not only against targeted persons, but against other stalkers. I mean, it's something that people ought to be briefed on. It's something. The Supreme Court will evaluate it and see if it's constitutional or not. But one thing that I've learned about the United States of America is this: it is willing to be wrong or be erroneous with respect to this program if it keeps the greater community safe. That's part of what this is. It's sort of a conundrum of priorities. I don't think for a minute that the national security or intelligence community in this country would say, you know what, there are 100,000 people in this country that may be legitimate targeted individuals. Let's pull the plug on the whole program just to satisfy those people, those targeted persons, those TIs. We'll pull the plug on the whole thing just to make them happy. That's not going to happen. They would actually rather see all 100,000 of the targeted individuals perish in the program so that they can collect the data concerning what they experienced and how they reacted to it. They believe that that data can help them implement similar programs in the future or understand people better, quite frankly. So they see their work, the particular citizens they're trying to protect, and the new trajectory of the American society benefits them, and they want to benefit the above named through gang stalking. It's designed to help some and hurt others based on X, Y, and Z factors. Host E.I. Smith, and I want to say a word tonight about intentional disease spreading, which is an actual thing here in the United States. Now, I'm not talking about a situation where some criminally I'm not talking about some homicidal nutcase going around intentionally infecting somebody as a part of a vigilante mission. I'm talking about orchestrated, staged, federally derived instances of a diseased person being signaled to a person's location with the intent of infecting that person. Now, I'm getting ready to move to a new location because a stalker just walked up as I was talking, obviously on some signal, and He sat down trying to listen to what I'm talking about so he can go tell his henchmen later what I'm saying. Be it on a phone or in a video. They don't know what I'm doing. They just hear me talking. So, you could take a psychopathic, degenerate nutcase who wants to go around and inflict diseases on as many people as he possibly can before he's caught, and dealt with. It's a situation where these things are being orchestrated and derived. And the question you might ask yourself is, do American federal auxiliaries participate in these types of activities? The answer is unequivocally yes. And I see it on a daily basis. You got guys being flagged using a system of signals, and then a number of human waste baskets accept missions to find whoever the target is, even though this diseased U.S. citizen doesn't know that person, and walk up to that person and using any number of bodily functions, including sneezes, coughs, yawns, and other disgusting gestures directly at the target with the intention of snarl socks is in skittle is a snuff you love for meaning is we sir this was on sir again is a this heavy jeez it said on the beat say the girl the red with me off this shit let's get six abs here when it was urban none of that so I guess it's a sense we the gal names I agree she had be later than all these on it say the managers they see the best games last team the position of zero is over the figure and mood say closer side I mean the show then I written it there triple yeah person gets it when the share was this is it what ach zero for nee it was off he's a bit beams and as is it elf nee no I roll the song shit then there is the I guess the green was oh you raise it again you would I don't want whatever you did finish burn off I don't they yes, madam. Pretty elementary, so let's go to the side Pentecost. I don't want to sit on our side as yes, must know you'll see back. It costs so as it. Oh, sister pots, so that initiate well in those two but it every day, man. Sure, and get definitely but nice need to initiate well in the circle. So on this need the surf sees it get up. This is the snake. They are a dealer that it's the air chicken by the cost map. It shouldn't be stainless if overall was that. You know, this is definitely what's this. I don't know it. Shit done. Hold out summer. What's up in the ghost and map? Yeah, was this by Pentecost Denmark? Yes, did I mean there if oh shit.